Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the 2 fishing rods that every fisherman needs to have. They're absolute essentials that I have in my arsenal. They were the first 2 fishing rods I ever bought, and they honestly can do 90% of the fishing that you'll ever do, even outside of bass fishing. So I do a lot of bass fishing. I've caught inshore fish on these rods. I've gone red fishing with them. I've caught snook with them. I've done walleye fishing with them, salmon, steelhead, trout. You can catch pretty much anything on these setups right here, no matter what you like to fish for, what types of baits you like to fish. Most of this is going to be geared towards bass, but we're going to break that down in today's video. If I could only have 2 combos for the rest of my life, these would be the 2 right here. So starting off with number 1, I do have it separated here because I don't have the reel on this rod for right now. But this is the actual rod. This is the first one I ever bought, and if I could only have a singular fishing rod, this would be the one. This is a Cash and Core spinning rod, 7-foot, medium fast action. Doesn't have to be the Cash-in version. If you prefer this rod, great. If you want to check them out, I'll have everything linked down in the description below. But any 7-foot, medium power, fast action spinning rod, that's what you're looking for. They're usually rated between like an 1/8 ounce lure to a 1/2 ounce lure. You can fish a lot of techniques in there. I've thrown rooster tails for trout in small little creeks and stuff like that using this rod. I've fished tubes and little Ned rigs and stuff in creeks for smallmouth bass. I've taken this up to fish pretty much anything smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass focused. I've used swim baits and little jigs for walleyes on this rod. I've even gone to the ocean and thrown a little shrimp on a jig head and caught redfish with this rod. So this rod can do everything you need to do on those setups. When I pair this rod up, a couple things that I like to do. This is a different rod, but I use a Shimano Sedona 2500. That gives me the best line capacity to be able to do a little bit of everything with it. Again, geared mostly towards bass fishing here. You could use it for other stuff, but if I'm going to be bass fishing, this gives me the line capacity to be able to throw pretty much any technique. I'm going to use my Ned rigs. I'm going to use my drop shots. I'm going to use tubes. You can throw anything on here. I've thrown poppers on this rod before when I really want to get a good accurate cast with light poppers. Anything on the bottom, anything finesse approach, that's what I'll do. And then with this setup, I'm going to put 15-pound test lime green braid on here. So that, when I spool it on here, that 15-pound test, it has a higher break strength, so I can get a 15-pound break strength, but it only has a 4-pound diameter, so I can get this spool pretty full. I can make long casts with that braid because it casts easier because it's a thinner diameter. I think it's only like 4-pound test diameter, so it'll cast really far. It has a ton of sensitivity. You'll be able to feel everything down there on the bottom, feel any fish that bites it. And the lime green part allows you to see your line so you know what your bait's doing. If you cast out there, you can watch that line go out and make sure your bait's hitting the bottom. You can see when your bait, a fish eats the bait, if it starts pulling the line out. It's just a very good way to use it, almost like a strike indicator. So that's what I'll rig up on there. And then because I use the braid, it gives me the ability to put a leader on here. So I will tie Alberto knot to a leader of about 10 foot like I have on this rod right here. And I'll tie various different leader sizes on there. So I'll take the 15-pound test braid and I'll put 8-pound test on here and I'll go fish drop shots and tubes and Senkos and all that kind of stuff. I can put 10 or 12-pound test on here if I'm fishing around docks and I need a little bit heavier backbone or some like more abrasion resistant line to get fish out of there. And then I've even gone to the ocean and put 20 and 30-pound test as a leader. I still have the 15-pound test as my back, and I catch redfish. So you can do all kinds of stuff with this. You can use this as a crappie rod. I've caught fish live scoping crappie with a little jig and a minnow on this exact setup too. Very, very versatile, allows you to do everything. The 2500 size is like the basic all-around spinning reel size setup. It's not too big that it's cumbersome and bulky, but it's not too small that you can't put 100 through 200 yards of 15-pound test line on here and go catch a redfish in the ocean and let it peel some drag. So allows you to do everything. It's one that everybody should have. If you're just getting into fishing for the first time, you don't know where to start, you're looking for your first rod to buy, 7-foot medium heavy, 7-foot medium fast action spinning rod. That's what you want. That's the first one that you should buy. And then to add to your arsenal, say you get a little bit more advanced, you get more into fishing, you want to do a little bit more stuff, I'm going to add this rod right here. This is again a Cashin Icon series, 7-foot fast action medium heavy power. This one's going to get you rated up to 3/4, sometimes even an ounce lure depending on the brand. So that's going to cover 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce lures that reel and rod can't throw. But this will also go down to like 3/16 or 1/4 ounce, so you can cover a wide range of baits with this. I'll still do my worming on this rod. I'll fish chatterbaits, you can fish spinnerbaits, you can throw crankbaits, you can throw topwaters, you can throw jigs, you can throw literally anything on this rod. Swim baits, all kinds of stuff. As long as it's under that like 1 ounce size, you're gonna be able to get away with throwing it on this rod. There's pretty much in bass fishing, maybe 10% of the techniques that you could not cover with these 2 rods right here. As for the reel on here, I have a Curado MGL. This is the 7:4 to 1 gear ratio. That's the biggest thing. You want a 7 gear ratio. It's very important to be able to pick up that slack on that rod or on your line. And if you're fishing bottom bouncing baits and a fish eats it and swims towards you, you can pick up that slack quickly and get a good hook set on this fish. You can do all kinds of various stuff with that reel. And if you need to slow it down, you can always just reel slower to get your bait to perform the same way. Where if you went with a slower gear ratio and you need your bait to go faster, you gotta reel really, really fast to get your bait to pick up that line. As for the line, I rig this with 14-pound test straight fluorocarbon. I run the braid on my spinning rod. It allows me to do a couple more different things and fish those different leader sizes. But when it comes to my bait caster, to also round out what I want to be able to fish on this rod, I put the fluorocarbon on here. The only thing that the fluorocarbon won't allow you to do is fish top waters, but anything else, worms, jigs, crankbaits, anything going subsurface, fluorocarbon is the way to go. So having fluorocarbon on this, having braid on that, gives you a little bit of a change on both rod and reel. So that's what I'll put on this rod as well. You could go 17 if you wanted to, you can go 12, you can put whatever you want. I like the 14, it gives you the best like range of everything. I can fish small crankbaits and not take too much off their diving depth, and I can also fish jigs and worms and not have too weak of line that I'm going to break off or get an abrasion or something like that and lose fish that way. So those would be the 2 rods that I would have to have in my arsenal. If I could have nothing else, if you took away all my 15 rods that I usually keep in my boat or whatever I usually have with me, if you said I could have 2 for the rest of my life, these would be the 2 that I would pick right here. It would get through 99% of your fishing that you would regularly do, and it probably wouldn't hinder you to catch any less fish throughout the course of a year if you could only fish with these 2 rods. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Check this one out right here if you want to see a video on how to maintain these rods, clean them, take care of them so that they last you a very long time. Hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any more of my fishing videos coming up, and thanks for watching.